Hello everyone and welcome to today's tutorial once again. So today I have something very interesting for us, and this is something that most beginners always find issues when they want to try to make this kind of drawing. So today I'm going to be doing portrait drawing, and this is going to be in a series. I don't want to put everything in this single video. I want us to follow the step-by-step process of how you can draw a portrait from beginning to the very end. So if this video is for you, if you are interested in this kind of video, I will implore you to stay tuned to this video, like, share and subscribe to my channel so that you can follow the series as I'm going to be uploading them days after days. Okay, so today we are going to go straight into portrait drawing, and the purpose of this tutorial today is just knowing how to sketch your portrait using freehand method. And the freehand method I'm going to be using in this tutorial is going to be the Loomis method. That is what I'm going to use for this tutorial today. So what we are going to focus on for today only is learning how to make your sketches for your portrait before shading. So my next tutorial is going to be from the shading aspect, but for today only we are going to focus only on learning how to draw our portrait with the right proportion using Loomis method. So let's move in straight into the video. And before we get started, I would like to discuss the materials needed for this kind of drawing. So obviously it is a pen tutorial class, so we are going to need our pencil. This is a mechanical pencil. This is going to be for our sketch, and you will need some few ballpoint pen. And make sure that your ballpoint pen, the ink usage isn't that finished, so that you will still have that smooth shading when you want to start to shade your work. And moving on to our next material, we are going to use a sketch pad. So this is Sino Art Sketchbook, and this is an acid-free sketch pad, very good for ballpoint pen shading. But for the purpose of this tutorial, I won't be using that sketchbook. I'm going to be using a very cheap sketchbook that most times some professionals will tell you that they are not good for your artwork. But I want to show you in this video that in this video and the other series of my videos that you can still achieve something good with a very low quality paper. So I'm going to be using an ordinary printer sketchbook here. This is just ordinary printer paper, and the texture of this paper is so light that if you don't know how to handle it, you will ruin your drawing. So I'll be using this sketch pad for the purpose of this video, and because of my beginner out there, because most time beginners don't have the luxury to afford those expensive paper. So I'm going to be using this for the purpose of this video, and you will see that most times your paper don't really matter. What matters the most is your skill and how you can handle any paper that comes your way. So before we get straight into our practical for today, I just created a WhatsApp group where we can share our drawings and ideas, suggestions, so that we can grow together. So you can check the link in the description box. You will see the link to our WhatsApp group. You can join and become part of us and share your drawings for better improvement. Okay, so moving on straight to today's sketch, I'll be starting by sketching with a pencil, and the reference of this tutorial will be shown to you on your screen right now. Now that you've seen the reference, this is a very simple image I got from Pinterest, and I'll be showing you how to use the Loomis method to make this kind of sketching before moving on to shade your sketch. So as we all know, everything around sketch revolves around basic shapes. We are going to use basic shape to construct the outline of this lady, this reference. And as we all know, to start a sketch, the first thing we have to start with is the circle. So I'll be using this to make my circle. for the sake of beginners there, I don't want to use a freehand circle. Let me use an accurate circle for this tutorial. So I don't know if you can see it. Make sure that your outline are very light, so that when you want to brush up, it will be easier for you. Now that I have my circle, what I'm going to do now is, at the edge over here, I'm going to make a slightly oval shape. I don't know if you can see this. So here is my oval shape. And now that I have this shape, this is 1/4 of the circle, like cutting 1/4 of the circle. So what I'm going to do is, this remaining side, I'm going to split them into 2 equal parts. Let's say just a line. And there we have it. Now our face is coming together gradually. Now that we have this, the next thing is to map out where our eyes fall. Note that this is the circle, and our eyes should fall in the middle, not fully middle, a little bit upward, but in the middle of the circle. And she's not facing straight. Her head is slightly bent upwards, so we have to put that into consideration. So this oval that I made here, I'm going to split it into 2, and I will slant it up because she's not facing straight. Her head is kind of facing upward. So that's what I'm going to do right here. So now that we have that, from this point here, then I'm going to make kind of straight line. So that is where the eyes structure is going to be. I hope you understand. That's where the eye structure is going to be. And this is the line of the eye. What you're going to do to make the proportion of the eye and the eyebrow be in the perfect position, this line is going to come in 3 equal parts. Make it like 3 equal parts. There you have it. So this middle line, the face is divided, let's say 4 parts. So this is the first part. Let's say the second part starts from here. So you make them equal from here to here. Should be the same measurement from here. So what you have to do is to measure with your pencil, so that you'll be sure you're accurate. So you know that the next one falls around here. And the next one falls like outside here. So this is where the chin is going to be, falls like outside there. Now that we have our equal parts, what we are going to do next is map out the outside structure of the face. Now that we have our equal parts, features of the face, we will map out where the chin falls. So what we are going to do is, this oval, you come back to this oval here and divide this section into another 2, and that equals 2. So now that we have that, where this line is, then you are going to like this kind of shape. Now this is where your chin is going to fall at, this right here. So what we are going to do now is, now that we have this structure, you see this half here, this is where your ear, the ear of the lady, this is where it's falling. And now that we have this right here equal proportionally to where we are going to put the mouth. So what we are going to do in this case is, let me complete this. So you can see the line here and the one coming from here are going to meet at the same point where your chin is. That is going to give you a very good proportion for your sketch. And moving on to the next, then we map out this side of the face. So what we're going to do is just wear this, just more like a straight line. Now that we have that, from here you see that the chin cannot just, you see how our chin is structured. So what we do is, outside here you split into another equal part. They are all basic shapes. So from here, like we just so that is our chin, where the chin falls and it goes like that, bends. So now that we have the outer structure, so let's finish here. You just bend slightly. So that is the outer structure of the face, and we move on to this line over here is where the hair starts from. So that's going to be what we cover up lastly. So let us focus on the inner features of the face. And that we have our the outside outline of our face structured. What we move now is to sketching out the eye. So you come back to this line that we make. If you notice, the proportion of the eye is in 3 equal parts. So what we're going to do is draw a circle, just a rough circle in 3 equal circles. Now these 3 equal circles giving us proportion of how the face is going to be. And before you move on to make your circle, make sure you give the proportion for the nose also, so that you know where the eye over here falls. So what I'm going to do is, from this point, since the nose is slanting, we are going to make a line. We're going to cut into this circle. Just something like this, so we know where to start sketching your eye. So now that we have that, what we now do is divide this to 2 equal parts, sorry. So once you have that, you know where your nose falls and where your mouth starts from. So the nose is going to fall inside this box, this shape right here. That is where the nose falls. And to get the mouth, start from this point over here, then you mark it now. That is where the mouth is. So let's move to the eye. So make sure that everything you sketch is inside of your circle. So we have this. And we move on to the nose. So you can see this line over here. Start the eye from there. And note, before you finish sketching this eye, this place right here is not fully inside the circle. So what to do is, like into a 3/4. I hope you understand what I mean. So that's what I'm going to do over here. So it's going to guide you on how to give the eye the right proportion. So once you have that, you can now sketch out the eye. So after that, then move on to the eyebrow. Make sure that it does not exceed this line. So our sketch is coming into play now. So we'll move on to sketching the nose. So as I said earlier, make sure everything falls inside this shape. So you can decide to make another shape here to know structure of your nose. So here is the structure of the nose. I hope you are taking note of that. It's just so simple. Even though your sketch don't look like your reference, little by little you'll be able to understand how all of this works. So now that I have my nose over here, I'll move on to my lips. So the lip starts over here from the shapes I mapped out. Then doing the same thing again, dividing this into another equal part. So this comes out little. then slightly. Then this comes here, following the structure. So this is going to be one more. So just map out the area, just something like here, to know how to work on that later. Your sketch doesn't have to be perfect, just try something. Okay, so now that we have that, so you can see now that we have here, we have to adjust the chin over here because it's a little bit too far from each other. So let's say chin is from here. So now that we have that, we move on to mapping the shape of the head. So we just know that this one is very easy to get. So this is where the hairline starts from, following the basic shape. You can see that it does everything moves. Then we move on to sketching the ear. The ear falls a little bit outside, so you have to be careful over here, just that not to ruin your shading, your sketch. So this is going to be the ear. And then you cover up the chin fully. So you can see that it's already coming into play. So let us finish up the rest structure of the face. So let us finish up with the hair. Know that the hair just, and the structure of the head is always outside, just a little bit, not always too far. So we move on to the neck. Neck is something easy. Just map out another equal part. So it's best to practice along this tutorial so you understand how all of this works. So now that I have this, let me finish up the rest. And this is our final sketch. So what you'll do here is correct some mistakes you did during your sketch before you move on to shading. So I'm going to do some corrections. So here is our sketch, and in our next tutorial we move on to starting the shading process. So I hope you enjoyed this tutorial and we try to duplicate this into our drawing process. So what to do is, as I said earlier, you will start with the circle, divide it into three different parts of the circle. Know the direction your reference is facing, whether it's a little bit bent, straight, slant up or slant down. So make sure you put all that into consideration to make sure your sketch is a very perfect sketch. So without wasting much of our time, in our next tutorial, what I'll be doing is starting the shading process. And make sure that you stay tuned to this channel and check the link in the description for our WhatsApp group. You can join for further discussion. So thank you for watching and see you in our next tutorial. Bye.